What's up, boys and girls? Today, I bring y'all the most fun build I have ever messed with in this game. It is equally strong and fun. This is a Titan stasis build, guys. It goes so crazy. It is insane. I love it. Let's get straight into it, guys. Without wasting no time, we gonna go crazy on this build. I'm gonna explain all of it. I'll have the dim link for the mods, all that dumb stuff. Anyway, let's go. Basically, this build is using two new exotics, that being the Elethanim grenade launcher from the season pass. If you buy the season pass, you get this right away, or if you don't, you get it when you reach rank 40 in the season pass. And it also uses the blastwave striders Titan boots that are new. Without further ado, we're just going to get straight into the grenade launcher first. Basically, this gun is like if Witherhoard and Mountaintop had a child. That was amazing as hell. Awesome. Basically, you're shooting a mountaintop-like projectile that has no arc, and it can give you propulsion like a rocket jump like Mountaintop, and it uses primary ammo to do that. The weapon fires a harvester spike projectile. Dealing final blows with the weapon creates a vestige at the target's location, and when you impale a more powerful combatant with the projectile, it will create a steady stream of vestiges from that target. So it's like a Witherhoard in that you can stick enemies with it, and it will do continual damage over time. However, only if it is a powerful enemy, like a mini boss, a champion, a boss, something like that. That's the only way you're going to be able to stick them. Doing this and making these vestiges is what charges this perk right here. Basically, it's going to fill a bar every time you get a vestige. It's going to add to that bar. When that bar is at 50%, you hold the reload button once, and this little sight will turn green. That means the next time you fire the weapon, it's going to create special ammo where the projectile lands. And it will still do its damage and all that good stuff. However, if the bar is completely full and vestiges no longer gives any progress, holding the reload button twice will make it go from that green to that purple, and then the shot will make heavy ammo. This ammo comes in the form of finder bricks, so it's not like a full brick that you would get from like just a natural drop, but it's still pretty useful, especially considering the fact that you can spam these out. I'll put up a little bit of gameplay, just a clip to kind of show what I'm talking about and how fast you can really build that charge up. But yeah, you can see I was defeating those shanks there, and it was spawning these Lumina-like projectiles that were tracking to me, and then I shot the Brig, and I stuck him, and the projectiles were hovering towards me. They were just repeatedly spawning out of him because this weapon's projectile was impaled into that Brig because he was a powerful combatant. The best way you want to utilize this gun is in content where it has a lot of those powerful combatants, so you can really abuse that sticking, because that's how you build it up super fast. I was in my super so you couldn't see the bar, but just know that it does build up very, very quick when you're doing that. You only really need to stick a powerful combatant like 2 or 3 times, and it's going to build up a 100% of the bar, and you can make heavy ammo. And then you can just shoot the heavy ammo and do that again and again and again, whatever. This also works on enemies that are immune to damage. So if there's a boss and you're doing the raid mechanic before the DPS phase, and he's able to be stuck by the weapon, you can stick him with the weapon, and he will continually produce these charges even while he's immune. So the whole time building up to that phase, you can be spawning ammo like crazy. There can easily be like 8, 10, 12, however many heavy bricks you can make in that amount of time. Absolutely insane. You'll never have ammo problems again, really. GMs, you can stick all the champions. If it's a barrier, you can just not defeat him and just keep sticking him, and he's going to heal, and you're just going to keep making ammo because he's never going to die, right? With that gun out the way, let's get into the boots and talk about the synergy that this gun has with the boots. So these are the blastwave striders, as I mentioned. The armor perk is you gain resistance to your own explosives. Defeating targets charges the armor, and once it is charged, you can slide or deal explosive self-damage to propel yourself backward and blast deadly shrapnel projectiles that spawn stasis crystals where they land. When you do this, you also get frost armor. What's nutty is these boots charge directly from the vestiges you're going to be getting from the Alethanim defeats and sticking targets. So basically, imagine how fast I was charging that gun during the time you could see the charge, but you get like twice as much as that to the boots. The boots are not only benefiting from the kills you're getting with the gun, but the vestiges that come from those kills as well. The sticking goes directly to those with the charges as well, and you can charge this thing up in seconds. Like if you're sticking a boss, like I said, and it's immune, you can use this proc every like 5 or 6 seconds. Absolutely ridiculous. So to get more into it, basically, when you slide, there will be a semicircle of stasis crystals that spawn out in front of you, and they'll land where the shrapnel goes, and there will be 8 of them that spawn out from this perk. I'll put up a clip just so that y'all can kind of get a better understanding, so let's get into it. Yeah, so as you saw, I got the bar fully charged, I ran away, and then I did the slide to proc the effect of the boots, and you could see there was 8 stasis crystals. 2 of them got blown up by the little mechanic there, but is what it is. There's 8 stasis crystals that spawned from it. With all of that out the way, all of that explaining done, let's get into kind of the actual build here and talk about the synergies that are involved when it comes to the subclass. So obviously we're using Behemoth Titan. The super is going to be Glacial Quake, Barricade whatever you like, Jump whatever you like. Glacier Grenade is the first part here. That actually really matters. You're going to want Glacier Grenade because stasis crystals, even more stasis crystals. These are going to be extra useful when we get into the aspects and fragments, but these do a lot of burst damage as well, and the Alethanim is really good at shattering these stasis crystals, and any stasis crystal really, but this is spawning those. And the artifact perk that we're going to be talking about later also helps to break these, and they shatter all at once pretty much and do a lot of damage. When we use this with Tectonic Harvest, these stasis crystals and all stasis crystals we're making and breaking are going to make stasis shards. This could be from our boots, this could be from our melee, which we'll get into in a second, and this can be from our grenade. When we pick up these stasis shards, we're not only going to get melee energy, but also frost armor because of the bottom part of that aspect right there. This gives damage reduction and synergizes with other artifact perks that we'll be getting into. The second aspect is Howl of the Storm. Basically, you sprint and then slide, and then use your charged melee while sliding to launch a wave of stasis energy forward that spawns stasis crystals and freezes anything it touches. So we're making stasis crystals with this, our grenade, and the boots. And you can probably already see a little synergy here if you're paying attention. This procs by sliding and then meleeing. Yes, this pairs with the boots, and if the boots are fully charged and you slide and then melee to use this, it will also proc the boots, and they will both activate, and it spawns a hellish amount of stasis crystals. There is pretty much nothing between you and those crystals that's safe from the enemies. Where they're not going to take damage or die. Absolutely insane. It basically means that when your boots are charged and you use your melee, you're going to get it right back because all those stasis shards you're going to be getting from those crystals. And it's just a loop right there. Now let's get into the fragments. We have Whisper of Fissures, so that all of those stasis crystals we're making shatter in a bigger explosion radius and a more damaging radius. This also works for frozen targets as well. So if we're using our melee or just the stasis crystals landing on them and them freezing, they'll shatter in a bigger area and for more damage as well. We have Whisper of Hunger, so all of the stasis shards we're making from those crystals give us additional melee energy. We're using Whisper of Shards, so when we're breaking these stasis crystals, we are getting a boost to the recharge rate of our grenade. And Whisper of Conduction, so nearby stasis shards track to your position. You have to be within a certain radius, and then they'll just fly towards you, which is really nice. You don't need to run around and pick all of these up, because there's going to be so many of them. With that out the way, let's get into the artifact. At the end of the season, this information will obviously be irrelevant, but because this artifact has such an emphasis on stasis and this build, I feel the need to talk about it. I'll talk about what matters. So we have Overload Breech-Loaded Grenade Launcher. This gives the Alethanim Overload, which is very nice because this grenade launcher can stick into enemies. So as long as you're sticking in Overload, it will be stun locked. Every time it's available to be stunned, it will be stunned if your grenade's in them, because that's how it works. The Overload will not be able to play the game. We have one with Frost. This is while we have Frost armor, our stasis weapons gain increased reload speed. That's all I really care about for our build. Makes the Alethanim reload faster. Fell the Revenant for increased weapon damage to Scorn. Rapid Impact, so dealing damage with grenade launchers, this can be heavy ones, Alethanim, whatever, will make them reload faster. Crystalline Converter, this is an absolutely insane artifact perk. When you gather stasis shards, you gain stacks, and when you use your next powered melee and it hits something, it will create stasis crystals equal to the number of stacks you had when you did that. So this just makes even more stasis crystals and gives you even more melee energy back when you use your melee, as long as it hits something. We have Armor of Aramis, so while we have Frost Armor and we take critical damage, so when we get to red health, we emit a freezing burst. Everything around us, when it happened, will get frozen, which is even more damage and survivability. Hail the Storm, so shattering stasis crystals releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. This is what makes breaking stasis crystals so easy. You break one crystal, the ice flies out and it breaks other crystals, does damage to enemies. It's awesome. Concussive Reload. You've probably seen this before if you played other seasons. Well, the other season. It is Breach and Clear, basically. Using a grenade launcher to damage a boss, a champion, or to break the shield of a combatant will weaken that target. Insane with the Alethanim because it sticks into enemies and does damage over time, so this effect will pretty much always be applied to those types of targets. And lastly, I have Brain Freeze. This basically makes it so that when you freeze a combatant, they spawn a dusk field on top of themselves that will slow and freeze nearby enemies. That's it for the artifact. Let's get into some more about this build. I just finished making this video and forgot to mention what makes the boots really crazy is that the shrapnel that's coming out from this, that's spawning these stasis crystals, breaks stasis crystals it touches. That's why the combos are so crazy that I'm going to get into. That's what makes most of this all happen. Alright, here I am in Grasp of Avarice. I have my boots fully charged, and I'm going to show you what makes them really insane, and that is the synergy between them and Howl of the Storm. So remember how I can slide and it procs the boots? Well, this is what it does when you slide and then melee while the boots are fully charged. Yep, and everything blows up and gets destroyed. That wasn't the best case for me to use that proc, but you can kind of get the idea. If you're doing that point blank on something, it will detonate the crystals pretty much by itself, and they'll all go into the same enemy. I also want to show off that you can rocket jump, and that will send out the crystals as well, but the obvious winner here is to do it with that melee. So I'm going to go to my charge again and show that one more time in a better scenario. Alright, my boots are fully charged. Let me not die by the burdens here. And I will go up to these wizards and show y'all what I mean. Yep, and he's out of here because my melee blew up on him. My boots didn't even need to go off there, and he was still defeated. You can just imagine, right, if it was a bigger target and all of those could be going into the same enemy, how they would just get deleted. The next combo that you can do with these boots, I'll show right here, and that is to use it with your grenade. So I can throw my grenade right there, and do the same thing, but with my grenade, and all of those are going to blow up. Get all of these stasis shards. There's my melee back again. And yeah, you can just go absolutely crazy with these boots. I'll put up some more clips of some of the crazy stuff I've done using that combo. So let's get into it. I just want to point out this clip was during the contest mode dungeon, and I was, what, 25 light levels down? So... But yeah, now that y'all can kind of see what I'm talking about with this build, the synergies between the exotics, the aspects, the fragments, I'll get into some of the things I didn't touch on. Obviously we have Behemoth Super on here, Glacial Quake. This is still one of the highest damage supers in the game. It is a roaming super, of course, but when it works and it hits like crazy. Especially in the new dungeon with the servitor boss. This is probably the best super you can use on him, that I'm aware of at least. It absolutely demolishes him, because there's all of these scattered out targets, all bunched up on top of each other. The stasis crystals absolutely disintegrate them. You'll do over 1 million damage with just the super. My friend was using Synthoceps, hit 1.8 million on him in the contest mode. Absolutely insane. That would only be better in the normal dungeon. Me and him, basically almost alone, did half the boss's health on contest mode in one phase with the super. So you have that, obviously. And then I'll get into the boots. And the one thing that makes them kind of crappy, you can probably already imagine it, but you have to be very mindful of the charge of these. When these boots are fully charged, you cannot slide, and you cannot accidentally blast yourself with any explosive, or they will go off. And obviously, you're probably going to want to use these when you want to use them, not all the time. So you just have to remember that, like, okay, the bar is full. I can't slide anymore unless I want to proc these. I need to be careful with my Alethanim and not point blank shoot an enemy or try to rocket jump, because they're going to go off. If I stick this champion, I need to be careful not to get too close to him, because if the projectile blows up inside of him and then deals damage to me, they're going to go off, right? Things like that. You just need to be kind of careful. But when you get better with the exotic, more used to playing around it, more used to how to use it in your terrain, and how to, like, barrel stuff the enemies with it, basically, and absolutely blow them up, you'll see what I'm talking about. They are absolutely insane. The damage potential is nutty. The ad clear potential is nutty. They go all over the place. You can use them as cover, as mines. Guys, this build is amazing. The only mod that I will say you really would want to use with this build, well, there's two. Well, three, I guess, technically. Heavy ammo finder, heavy ammo scout. The gun is an exotic, and it uses primary ammo. It being an exotic makes it generate ammo from finders at an accelerated rate as compared to as compared to legendaries, and it's a primary ammo weapon, so it can actually work with these. And scout makes that ammo for your teammates. So not only are you making ammo with the proc of the ability, but you're also making ammo with the finders. Absolutely nutty. There will be ammo everywhere. And the other mod that you would really want to use is Elemental Charge. This makes it so that picking up stasis shards will actually have a chance to give you armor charge, which is very nice because we're creating so many of these armor charge. If you stack this, it will make that proc even more, and by a pretty substantial amount if you have two compared to one. So if you don't care about a surge mod, put on two, and you'll see the armor charge ramp up like crazy. Of course, you would want to have a use for armor charge if you're going to be getting it. That's why I'm using a surge, so that I actually have a use, because kickstart mods seem kind of pointless in my opinion on this build, not only because our ability regen is so insane, but you kind of want to combo your abilities together, including that of the boots, and there's no way to make your boots charge faster aside from getting kills or sticking the targets with the gun. And by the time you would build up these boots, you probably have your melee, because you could just use your grenade to get your melee, and with those shards you'd be fine. You almost will always have your abilities when you want them, unless you're just spamming them all over the place. And before I forget, speaking of abilities, Shiver Strike is also a good melee now. You don't need to use the aspect when you use it every time. Basically what they did with this melee is they made it so that when you whiff, it only uses like 10 or 15% of the cooldown as opposed to all of it like it used to do, like how a shoulder charge does. This ends up being an insane change, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, because going through your stasis crystals counts as a whiff. So you know that combo where you throw your glacier grenade down and then you shiver strike through it? Yeah, now you can do that, but it will only use like 10% of the charge of your melee. And as it turns out, when you pick up a stasis shard, that's going to go right to full as soon as you do it. So you can just shiver strike through your crystal, pick up that one shard, and then you have your shiver strike again, and then you can actually hit something with it. And when you do, it will deploy or attach a stasis explosive to them, which emits a freezing burst from the target that you hit after they get knocked back and fly like a freaking missile. And then they'll shatter and do damage. So even the actual melee itself is really good, and this applies to the melee you get in Glacial Quake. So mess with that, of course. When it comes to weapons, you can pretty much use whatever weapon you want with the gun. I would recommend using a special weapon, because like a DPS special weapon, because this can handle like all of the ad clear for the most part on its own, and it's primary ammo, so you're not going to run out. But there is a case to be made for using a double primary, just because when your boots are fully charged, you might not want to accidentally hit yourself with this on close enemies, so you might want to use like something for champions, or just an actual like primary, like a Zoe's Bane or something, just like get like an ad clearing primary, just so that when this is charged, you don't have to worry about accidentally hitting yourself with this. Anyway, though, that's the build. That's the guide, kind of. That's how you kind of play it. Get out there and experiment, guys. I think this build is absolutely insane, and I didn't show all of the best footage that you could have with this build, all of like the craziest outcomes of the combo. I might leave some more clips here at the end if I come across any that I have, but that's pretty much it, guys. I'll see you in the next one.
Does that do it? Yep.